from Atlantic Studio while we are going live on U97.5. Of course, a little later on, we will put a number on the screen where you can make your calls and make your contribution as we continue today's proceedings. However, I know that there is also some inclement weather that would be again heading in our direction. And I know for a fact that all our regional corporations, we are quite ready to assist the leader of the United National Congress and the leader of the opposition had given us specifics, and therefore we are standing by to render any form of assistance as is deemed necessary in order to help you to be safe. We are also asking you on the outside to help us to help you, and safety starts with you. You are the first responder to yourself, and therefore we would expect you to take the necessary precautions, as we may very well experience flash flooding as the weather continue to brace this country. So I think yellow alert is there, it is established, and therefore we ask you to just do the necessary and be prepared for any eventuality. Protect the young ones, the kids, make sure that you are quite aware of their whereabouts. The younger ones, make sure that they are in reach, and you have the responsibility to keep them safe. So we urge you to be vigilant, continue to look and continue to pay attention to the forecasts, the bulletins, the updates that will come to you from time to time in relation to the weather that is expected, the rainfall that would be coming our way later on. So I urge you, stay safe, and as we continue today, feel free to call us and let us know what's the status in your area and how are you coping. I know that the rivers are high. I know, of course, that there is also some water in the Barapo area and other areas, and therefore we ask you to be quite careful as you go about your daily business. Today, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be, as I said before, coming to you live on U97, which is our station that we conduct the douglAR radio. I have decided to capitalize on the opportunity today to pull the program from Atlantic Studio, which is again one of our options that is available with the technology that we continue to develop at Atlantic Studio. Of course, we hope that as time goes on, we will be able to bring news, and I'm speaking about factual information from Atlantic Studio, because we know for a fact that the mainstream media, and I think that as I welcome all of you this afternoon, all our viewers, our listeners, and as you tune in, and as you eat your popcorn, and in some cases drink your coffee, and we will continue to advise what is happening as we go along. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to start right away with the mainstream media, because the mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen, it's one of the enemies to democracy in this country. The mainstream media, it is one of the enemy of democracy in Trinidad and Tobago. We have seen over the years, and we are presently experiencing a type of journalism that we have never seen to the extent that we are experiencing now. Journalism today, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only a business, but it's a biased business. And when you establish a business such as a media house, the country, and according to international standards, we would have expected that the media houses would have brought the information to the general public unadulterated. In other words, bring the information to the public factual. But we have experienced and continue to experience a type of journalism that help the country to make corrupt decisions, a type of journalism that help the country to choose evil over good, a kind of journalism where they have encouraged the citizens of the country to believe and to hold in high esteem lies rather than truth. And we are paying a heavy price simply because the journalists in this country, in those media houses, they have demonstrated a particular bias. And that bias, ladies and gentlemen, it's a bias in favor of one party over the other. Now, you and I would know for a fact that media houses heavily depend on government, one. They depend on the private sector, two, to provide that income by way of ads, by way of information, by way of stories, and the list goes on. But we are today getting information that leads the mind of the individual to look at one party as gospel and the other as evil. So let me break that down a little bit. We are getting a kind of journalism today that makes the PNM look like saints and make the UNC look like devils. And this is because journalists have allowed themselves to be contaminated within certain relationships with government ministers, and secondly, they have allowed themselves to be manipulated by the PNM, in that we would have experienced where the government, by setting that example and by captivating and also by insinuating to various media houses that you do as we say or you don't do at all. We have had instances where the government, where Keith Christopher Rowley government would have invite certain media houses under the disguise of the pandemic, inviting certain media houses to press conferences, granting ads and story to certain media houses, sending that signal to others that you conform to what we will have you to conform to, or you would be starved of any form of ads and finance. And that was the method that was used by this government to bring those media houses who at one time or the other would have granted you the opportunity to listen to facts. Today we no longer have truth within these media houses. We have some truth, but you see, once truth is contaminated, it cannot withstand, it cannot demonstrate, it cannot be unadulterated simply because it is contaminated. And you know, sometimes we say we get half truth, but while that may be so, I want to take the position by saying once truth is contaminated, it could no longer withstand, and it cannot demonstrate, it cannot look and dress like what it ought to be. So, in other words, what we are getting from mainstream media is as a narrative that would allow you to believe that what the government is saying is correct. That is what we're getting from mainstream media. We would get examples where journalists would ask questions, and you will see at some on many occasions where the Prime Minister refused to answer certain questions. A matter of fact, you will see where the Prime Minister had brought press conferences to an end based on questions that were posed. And then he will tell you, look, I am standing here till my feet hurt, and I'm going to bed late hours at night, and I would not stand here and tolerate you as the media with a device taking questions, as he put it, from what he considered to be those on the outside, who is his opponent according to him, and allow them to ask those questions to get an answer. He will not allow that according to him. You see, when the Prime Minister is cornered, he used metaphorical languages to dismiss what should be authentic questions where you, the citizens, can receive answers for what is happening. So he danced, he fidget. In some case, he embarrassed some of the journalists. He used every method that is available to bring these journalists to the point where they are now controlled by the political directorate that leads this government. That is what he has brought them to. And coming out of that, what we will achieve, coming out of that, we would achieve what can only be described not only from a dictator standpoint, but we could only get coming out of that kind of narrative and behavior. We will only get in this country a country that is run by polluted information and people making decisions based on the pollution that they receive from the mainstream media. And we have to find ways and means to change that. We have to find ways and develop means where we can get the truth out there so that people can and make informed decisions. And one of the way in which we move forward in doing that is that we have social media available. We have social media available to the point where we can utilize it to bring some facts to you. Now, you cannot use social media even to bring all the facts, because we have seen that during the pandemic that there was certain information that was coming out of the US and the UK in relation to even the vaccination, and those information was shut down. Those information were cut off the media. A matter of fact, in some cases, people were blocked off of YouTube. They were blocked off the YouTube. So while social media is there to be utilized, we can utilize it to the point. And I have seen where we have bring stories and have discussion in relation to this government. And of course, at some time we were banned for a couple of days, and sometimes we were interrupted by YouTube taking down the videos and taking down the information and so on and so on. So we have to be able to develop some sort of message. You know, I was speaking to a guy, and he was also indicating to me that was one of the reasons why Sunshine newspaper came out, because they were looking at ways and methods to get a particular message outside. And in order to do that, social media will not cover. We have looked at many of the Monday night forums and many of the UNC programs. And at a particular time, we were actually like shut out of the mainstream media. The door was actually closed on the UNC as far as mainstream media were concerned. We could not have expressed, there was nothing forthcoming. The only thing you was getting on mainstream media about the UNC is when Rowley and the PNM make a statement in the negative against the UNC. You all remember that? For a while, we were under tremendous pressure by mainstream media. And today, while we are seeing a little relaxation in relation to the shutting down of the UNC on the mainstream media, a matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, there is only a little crease in the door, just a little crack in the door, that the UNC is allowed as far as mainstream media, as far as that is concerned. There is pertinent information that the leader will continue to bring. And what you will see coming out of that would be just small columns, small articles, placed somewhere down on the back, somewhere down in the center page, somewhere 6, 7, 8 going down. I'm talking about critical information that will help you the citizens of this country to understand where we are in relation to this government. And there is just a crack in the door that the mainstream media would allow for that information to be disseminated out there for you. And that is why one individual who I consider to be playing a tremendous role, a huge role on social media in getting information on a daily basis out there to you, the people. And the person that I put on that pinnacle is none other than William Archie. None other. And I'm not saying that there is not those who continue to bring that information, but William Archie have been working tirelessly, tremendously, in every crease, in every crack, in every corner that is available to send that message so that you, the public, would be able to gather some information as to what's going on in this country. Of course, we have the UNC social media platform in various ways and in various locations and in various constituencies. But to the end of the day, the compilation and getting the message out there so that you could understand, you could see what is going on in this country with your taxpayer dollar. You could understand what is happening. You cannot get that information from mainstream media. You cannot get that. And as Archie now said, Alan Karim, a man who is also in charge of putting this team, putting this information and getting it out there to you. I mean, if wasn't for the UNC social media team, I wonder how many information you would have been getting on the outside. How many information, what facts you would have been getting out there. You tell me, you examine. And this is what we have to fight against. We have to fight two opponents. We have to fight the wicked, corrupted PNM, and we also have to fight the wicked, corrupted mainstream media. Those are the two enemies that coincide, that coexist, that bring information to you, that allows you to make decisions. And the decisions that those two allow you to make is decisions that is contrary to the truth. That is what we face. And that is why we have to take a position. We have asked you on a number of occasions to see how much you can stay away from supporting mainstream media. Because if you stay away from supporting mainstream media, I am telling you, they will be forced to bring the truth. Because when you examine the social media platform of the United National Congress, you can take those information and compare those same information with what you are receiving from mainstream media on the same topics, and you will see the great injustice that the mainstream media will bring to you, far in comparison to the information that you will get off of the UNC platform. You watch what is at hand. Watch what is at hand as we speak. And watch and see what the mainstream media is doing to promote, to propagate, to help you, the citizens, to be informed, to take a stand against what is happening. So let us examine some of those facts. Fact number one. I study if I should start from here and go backward, or if I should start from there and come forward. I think I will start from there and come forward. Fact number one. Let's examine the information that came to you from mainstream media, and let us examine the information that came to you from the UNC social media platform. Fact number one. We had found ourselves in a situation where the investigation in order to put a commissioner of police in place that was being conducted by the Police Service Commission. The Police Service Commission is that body, the only body who really have that responsibility to go through and conduct a thorough investigation into any candidate who is seeking to take or to sit as a commissioner of police in this country. This body is a legally enshrined body within our constitution. It is the body that have all the authority. Now, during that process, there was a number of candidates, and while that body would exercise the right and go through the vetting process and grade individuals according to their merit, coming out of that, they would have prepared what you would have learned to understand, something that is called a merit list. Out of that merit list, the Constitution will give some direction as to how that process should move from the Police Service Commission to the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago. We further learn that coming out of that the Constitution make provisions so that the chairman of that Police Service Commission, after sitting and deliberating and coming to a conclusion by a vote or a consensus of all those who make up that commission, and a decision would be reached, then that merit list ought to be protected by that organization from there to the House of the President. Now, when that merit list reached to the House of the President, and that list is handed over to the President, again, within the Constitution, it tells us what ought to happen. So, during that process, we have since learned that after that list follow the constitutional trail and reach to the President, we now learned that there were a third unconstituted individual who made his way to the House of the President and cause some sort of interception in relation to that list. Now notice I said a third unconstitutional interference. Coming out of that unconstitutional interference, we find ourselves where we further learned that the president who had that list in her possession returned that list without any constitutional authority and caused the collapse of the entire police service commission by that conspiracy with the third unconstitutional person who interfered, who we now know was the Prime Minister of this republic. Now, coming out of that interference, we had the collapse of the entire police service commission. Added to that, we also had the collapse of a commissioner who were already selected based on the merit and based on the constitutional authority that the Police Service Commission had, which was invested in them. So we had the collapse of the commissioner who was already selected in that process, and we also had the collapse of the entire commission based on that interference. Where did you get that information? So let me help you. The mainstream media give us a cock and bull story in relation to what transpired. But the UNC social media platform brought the facts to you as it relates to the leader of the opposition and the high-ranking members of the UNC who were able to gather that information. Could you remember the mainstream media were questioning the authenticity of that information by Kamla Prasad Bisesa? They were questioning how she knows somebody went by the president's house, how she know this and how she know that. When we would have expected the mainstream media to bring out the Mark Bassant and bring out the investigative journalists and get the information, they were more or less criticizing the leader of the opposition who had brought the information, who has brought the facts to the public domain. they were more shooting down that information more than investigating to get the truth as to what caused the collapse of the Police Service Commission and what caused the dismantling of a commissioner who was already topping the list as far as the job and as far as merit was concerned. That is what the mainstream media was doing. It took weeks, and yet still the mainstream media were yet still in a defensive mood of that third unconstituted individual who had interfaced and interfered with the process. They were shading and blocking and dancing. And yet, while the Prime Minister was telling the opposition, well, if you had proof that some third party interfere, then bring the proof. We had the then Attorney General, Minister of National Security, everybody disputing that there was any interference, disputing it down to the last, down to the wire. Everybody had something to say about the opposition with the facts that was brought to you. Everybody tried to shoot it down and dismantle it. The newspaper bring all kind of story. Government slam opposition. Opposition this and opposition that. All kind of story. Defending the wrongdoing by the Prime Minister in this whole scenario. But let's move on. So all that hullabaloo took place, and then when pressure started to mount in the pipeline, then the Prime Minister came out and said he is the person that met, and he is the person that interfaces, but he did not interfere. You remember that? Did the mainstream media took the Prime Minister to task? Did the mainstream media go to the Constitution and tell you what 1, 2, and 3 said? What 2, 3, and 4 said? Did the mainstream media came out and condemn the actions of the Prime Minister? Did the mainstream media came out and call for the Director of Public Prosecution and the Commissioner of Police to immediately launch an investigation and to bring those perpetrators before the court? Did the mainstream media came out and categorically denounce what the Prime Minister had done that caused the collapse of this? I am saying to you, no. The mainstream media tell us that a new commission has been appointed, so it's time to move on. Let's move on. That is what the mainstream media said to you. The mainstream media was not in support of holding those accountable and bringing them before the courts for misbehavior in public office. Today, ladies and gentlemen, months after, you hearing anything from the mainstream media about that collapse? You hearing anything about the mainstream media asking if there is an investigation going on, if the commissioner of police have appointed investigators to secure statements from those in the Police Service Commission, those who have resigned before this thing hit the fan? Are you hearing the mainstream media speaking anything about what is the status with Bliss Sipasad and what is the status with the high-ranking official who we now know as the Prime Minister? What is the status of any investigation? No. You will not hear that from the mainstream media. You will hear absolutely nothing from the mainstream media in relation to that scenario. Absolutely nothing. Corky, I know it's 7 o'clock and we agreed to take the break for 7. So I will just break here at this point in time, Corky, and give you the opportunity to play the ads and so on while we play some ads here. And we will be back in about 2 minutes, Archie? We will be back in 2 minutes time. So Corky will get 2 minutes to run the ads on them there, and we will run some ads here, and we will be back in 2 minutes time. Mainstream Media Talk.
Well, this is Granivere River, Granivere Big River. See what's going on there? What's all going on there? Granivere Big River.
Oh, Big River! What's going on?
Yes, I want to take chance to cross this river right now. Take what I'm telling you. Yeah, I even say I want to take chance to cross this bridge right now. First this thing serious.
All right, so we are back, and I am going to announce some breaking news here this afternoon. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the Director of Public Prosecution, the DPP, announced that they are discontinuing the proceedings against those who has been accused in the Piarco Airport inquiry. The DPP have taken a position where they will no longer prosecute that matter, they have decided to withdraw and discontinue any charges against those who have been accused in the Piarco International Airport inquiry. You remember the Privy Council took a decision and dismissed those charges, and added to that, heavily stressed that there were heavy, serious political interference. Political interference. In other words, political directions was given, in my words, to individuals in relation to the prosecuting of that matter. So breaking news, the DPP have now decided in Trinidad and Tobago to discontinue any proceedings against those who have been charged in relation to that particular matter at the Piarco International Airport. So that's the breaking news at this point in time. So as we continue, ladies and gentlemen, we have not seen the aggression that by the media, the type of aggression that they have demonstrated against the UNC in this country. We have not seen not even a full percent of any form of aggression against, not against the PNM, you know, but against the wrongdoing of the PNM. That is what I'm talking about. No aggression against the wrongdoing of the PNM. So that is number one. That is number one. Number two, we now know that Keith Christopher Rowley, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and two of his family purchased some units in Tobago, I's Gate. Again, coming out of the United National Congress social media platform, the information came to you where the Prime Minister gets some kind of $400,000 discount. We also learn that there is serious discrepancies with his integrity forms declaration. Those matters, ladies and gentlemen, came to you, the public, from the UNC social media platform. When those information came to you, the public, we have seen the mainstream media. We have seen editorials which suggests that nothing is wrong with the Prime Minister getting a discount. We have seen editorials condemning the information that came to you from the UNC social media platform. Today, ladies and gentlemen, you have seen without a shadow of a doubt that the information that came out of the UNC and its social media platform, it is authentic, factual information, unlike what you cannot get from the mainstream media. Again, where are those investigative journalists? Where are those editors in the newspaper? Where are the information? How many of them have digged into that facts? And you have seen front page article demanding investigation into these allegations of discrepancies in relation to Keith Rowley declaration to the Integrity Commission. Where are those front page articles calling for investigation where the business partner of the Prime Minister, a business associate, a man who is alleged to be implicated in a number of activities with the Prime Minister, a man who is also alleged to get a contract to pay from here to there for $2 million. Where are those articles with the mainstream media? Where are the mainstream media investigative journalists bringing the facts and information to you? If it were not for the UNC and its social media platform today, we would never know about these deals that involves the Prime Minister and others. That's number 2. Number 3. This one slipped me. Let me go back to it. It was Kamla Prasad Bisesa and her social media platform that brought to your listening, to you, the listening public, the whole of that great big fake oil scandal that caused Petrotrin to no longer exist. It was the UNC social media that kept that story alive and still keeping it alive today. When you look at what the mainstream media did by condemning Kamla Prasad Bisesa, for bringing the information that was secret to the public domain. It was the mainstream media that condemned Kamla Prasad Bisesa and tried to shift the blame to say it's because of Kamla and the UNC that this man end up with, whether it be 100 million or 200 million, and how much other million that we cannot hear anything about today in terms of cost that probably don't pay secretly. You hear the mainstream media asking anything about the money, the cost that was to be awarded in that matter because of the government failure to appeal when Deborah Peake, a senior counsel who fought the case from the inception stage to the time of the arbitration, and Deborah Peake came out with, I believe it was an 8-page statement showing the government where the arbiters that big word, I know someone didn't understand what that mean. Telling you that the arbiters made several mistakes and went against the same rules and guidelines that they have set in order to conduct that same arbitration. And that big arbitration mean the trial. Let me break it down how everybody understand. Deborah Peake, senior counsel, urged the government to appeal. We saw a little story on the papers where senior counsel Deborah Peake urged government to appeal in A.V. Gillen matter. Where was the big front page article when Keith Rowley took his phone from wherever he was, whether it's California or wherever he was, and call A.V. Gillen and carry on a conversation while A.V. Gillen was the subject of a major investigation? Where was the newspaper and the TV6 and the CNC3 condemnation of a prime minister calling his friend in the center of a major investigation? Where was the front page articles, ladies and gentlemen? You are speaking about a prime minister of a country, a prime minister who tell you that he was not aware of that investigation. Then you must ask that man on the screen, Rowley, ask him why Nicole Olivier was fired. Ask him, since he tell you that he called Bash to find out what is this about. Let him tell you why Nicole Olivier, who was the Minister of Energy, why she was fired. Not even while she was in our jurisdiction, while she was in Grenada on a short visit. He saw she threw it off. Ask him why. Ask he why. Where was the newspaper? Where were the mainstream media getting down and digging into the source, getting the information why Nicole Olivier was fired as Minister of Energy and Energy Affairs? Where they were? Where were those guys? Nobody care why poor Nicole was fired. They didn't care. Nobody wants to know. But Rowley, who is the head of National Security Council, who appoint the Minister of National Security, who appoints the Minister of Energy, which is the line minister to Petrotrin, who appoint the board of Petrotrin, the entire board, chairman, vice chairman, this one, that one, everybody. So he had the entire board of Petrotrin. He had the chairman who he appoint. He had the minister who he appoint. He had the minister of national security who he appoint. But he tell you that he called Bash to find out what is this new thing that he hearing. And he's so bold-faced that he tell the mainstream media, that is my friend, and what kind of man would I be if I don't call my friend to find out what is this about? So hear what that tell you, ladies and gentlemen. It tell you that your prime minister is an incompetent idiot. Because if he is the prime minister, he fire a minister who allow that investigation to take place under that minister watch. Listen me good, you know. Listen me good. He fire a minister who under her watch this investigation started. He appoint a new minister. He appoint a board, and that board reports to his minister. So it means to say that his minister know that he is really an incompetent idiot. So he tell his prime minister, we have a big investigation going on with a fake oil scandal which involve your partner. You see, I want you to pick sense from nonsense. I want you to pick sense from nonsense. I don't want you to study what Victor Robets position remain, you know. I bring in the facts to you. What you can't get from the mainstream media, you will get it right here on every one of our programs. So I want you to understand, he fired a minister who allowed this investigation to kickstart. He put a next minister. This next minister is he partner and the man partner too. So there's a big massive investigation going on with millions of dollars according to the auditor's report, not according to Victor Robets' report, you know, according to the auditor's report. Millions of dollars. Petrotrin pay for what they receive. Millions. But he don't know. But he telling the mainstream media that when that came to him, he was so shocked that he had to take the phone and call his friend to ask his friend what this is about. So his friend had better information than the Petrotrain board. His friend had better information than the chairman of Petrotrain, who he wrongly appoint. His friend had better information than he minister who he appoint. And his friend had more information than he attorney general who he appoint. And his friend had more information than his Minister of National Security that he appoint. So he had to take his phone and call his friend who is the subject of that investigation, and he telling the media that I asked my friend, what is this about? And he telling the media, his friend said to him, I don't know nothing about what is happening. And then he take his phone and he call his former candidate for Siparia, who contested Kamla Prasad Bisesa, who fought against Kamla Prasad Bisesa, to ask him, what is this about? And he too say, he knows nothing about what that is about. While the auditors report and all the other report will show that his friend is accused of conspiring with his friend in order to defraud Petrotrain. That is not what I say, you know. I didn't say that. The document said so. It's not Victor Robets. I just telling you what the document say. So he tell the mainstream media he did all that.
Right now, no outcomes, yes, but he is.
Listen to it.
Are being looked at in this internal audit report and this fraud allegation, whether it was appropriate for you to call him.
Of course it's appropriate. I mean, if you have a friend and you hear that, you know, something like that happened to me, you wouldn't ask him, you know, what's this about?
So you hear that? So a journalist asks him,
Mr. Robert?
yes, caller, go ahead, welcome.
Right. And why I want don't worry about that media too much. I see something happened in Parliament there last week, and I hear the opposition leader talk about it. After Washington Parade don't talk, the rest of the PNF fellas afraid to come out the crease and said anything. He was responding to the Minister Water with him, Douglas Gonzalez. That boy talks about a stupidness. And Washington Parade and he that the rest of them afraid to come out and say and talk. You say they have a slight crease in the door opening. You can see go bust through the whole door just now. Look at that edition yesterday. Above average intelligence is a great asset to a man, Mr. Robert. You know that?
Yeah.
Tell you all of you and see fellas have that. I could attest to that if I have that too. I was going to tell you a little more, you know, about the West Indies cricket team under Frank Worrell. I know we have time and they're coming on just now. But forget that media, the more we talk about them, the more they're going to feel this big boy. Leave them there, we're going to defeat them without them. Right? Don't worry yourself too much about them. You can remember 1959 when Frank Worrell went to England West Indies team? Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. When he went to England West Indies team, he had like a Gary Sobers and Ron Callahan and them with him, you know. But he tell them, he say, listen to me. Brian Statham and Freddie Truman going to hit all you all over your body, you know. Look out for licks. They have no helmet and thing in them days. And
Welcome, caller.
Good night, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir, good night.
I think we have there with you, Coffee and Archie. Good night to all of them.
Yes, beautiful.
Nice. I listened to Senator Robert in the Senate yesterday on this TCJ issue. And the presiding officer, you understand, the Australian, you understand, of Australian image, of Australian origin. I can't call your name because we have a name for her, right? He interrupted the man. But I suspect I know where you wanted to go. Because you bring up the issue, and I do some research again in 2014 in the Newsday, where a CCJ judge was pushing tickets for the Carnival Committee. Now, the two questions that follows out of that, and this is important, is that CCJ judge still sitting on the bench in the CCJ? That is the first one. Because he already conflict and all kind of thing. The second thing is, I want to know if that CCJ judge use WhatsApp communication with the independent PNM Center. You know where I'm going with that?
Mm-hmm.
So if that is the case, he using WhatsApp to communicate with the partner, then it makes sense we go there because the judges appear to be biased and contaminated already. I go and have a nice evening.
Thank you, caller. And my brother, let me tell you why I have to go there with the media. I have to go there with the media because the media continues to play a critical role going forward in our society. The media play a critical role that it is so critical that the media causes government to rise and it causes good governance to fall. And that is why I have to go and have to point out what is happening with the media in this country so the citizenry would understand not to rely on the news that comes from the media houses. So Rowley said that he made that call. And what happened? You're seeing the media houses today calling for that kind of investigation into Keith Rowley behavior. Welcome, caller.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Mr. Roberts, sorry.
Yes, sir. Good day.
Well, you have been sitting there all afternoon accusing those people of being journalists. They are not. They are simply puppets for profit, for what they could get. When they go to cover a story, they get them a sort of cheap alcohol to drink, and they talk on the side about a little NHA house that they applied for so long and they will get it, but they want it in Victoria Keys. Notice all them big shot NHA places they give out. They don't always have a few waiting. That is when you're jangling a carrot in front of a donkey. That is the excuse we have for journalists. So I take offense when you sit there and accuse them of journalism because most of them still wrapping their head around Emailgate and Kamala tried to kill them and Gary Griffith wanted to kill them and Munilal wanted to kill them. That is the excuse we have for journalists. They are simply donkeys with a carrot and a stick in front of them doing the bidding of a pedophile government. And one of the things that I have recently learned, and I didn't know this, thanks to our beloved Prime Minister, narco-terrorism, money laundering, and pedophilia is a medical condition that you have to stay back in the States to be treated for. I didn't know that, you know. I so stupid. I telling you. So do not accuse these people of journalism because they are not journalists.
Thank you, my brother.
They are prophets.
Thank you, caller. Welcome, caller.
Good night. Good night.
Yes, good night.
You know, I want to make a complaint. In front of Mount Hope Hospital, there's a truckload of rubbish, garbage for weeks now. And another thing is the car park water flowing for months. Somebody can see that man that looking so stink. Is a hospital. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, caller. I hope the Alsing listen to that. I
hope
really
so.
hope the Alsing listen to that. Huh. That is how shameless they is in government. Shameless. Thank you, caller.
Bye.
Welcome, caller. We lost that one. And caller, you're right, you know. Caller before the last. You're right. And you see, that is the whole fact of the matter. And until we establish and the people of the country understand that you cannot rely on these mainstream media for any authentic information, is until the people will continue to vote for the rubbish that they hear coming out of these media houses. So that was about the third one I was on. Fourth one. We have seen a report which came out from none other than Justice Judith Jones. This report tells us that there are a massive pedophile ring which is operating throughout the length and breadth of our Twin Island Republic. Added to that, we have also seen other reports that tells us who are the perpetrators.
Good night, Victor.
Welcome, caller. Good night.
Good night, Victor. Good night, Chi and Kokidi, and all the other listeners. What is amazing, and we should look at too, even though the Prime Minister was out of the country, why didn't the head of state come out in advance and urge the people to be strong, be vigilant concerning this storm could have been devastating? Where was the president at that moment in time? And even the alert went. Why didn't she come out and tell the people we are so happy and comfortable that we are out of the danger? But the danger is who now? And then the Prime Minister, anytime they plan something and they have something, he uses puppet to bring it forward and he flies out of the country. Because when what happened in the pipeline, he was out of the country. A basic amenity like flour, which every household in our country needs, he was out of the country again, and you use your puppets on them to do your dirty work. Have a good night, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. So coming out of this report, we know that there are high-ranking officials within the PNM who they are involved in this ring, without a shadow of a doubt. Both men and women. Now, the media would have given us a caption on that. But since that report were in the hands of the Prime Minister and Ayanna Webster Roy, his minister within his office, for 6 whole months, resting on a shelf, while the reports state that as we speak, this trend They are being abused as we speak. How could a report of that nature rest down for 5 to 6 months without putting any measures in place to protect our children? And the media houses in this country would not bring such a condemnation by the Prime Minister and his minister in his office for not lifting a finger to protect these children from the brutal hands of these animals that we call human being in this country. I would have expected that while the media hates the UNC, that the media would have stand up and stand out and be outspoken in relation to this abuse of our children by these pedophiles, high-ranking officials within the PNM. I tell myself, at least, while the media hate us on the UNC side, they would have shown some love and mercy and compassion for the children of this country. I tell myself that the media will beat this story and beat the police service into action. I tell myself that the media would beat this story and beat the Prime Minister into action. I tell myself that the media will beat this story and beat the whole of Trinidad and Tobago into action, into defending these children who constantly being abused by these wicked, evil devils that sits somewhere within the PNM. And I also want to suggest probably sits within the cabinet of this government. Welcome, caller.
Good night, Mr. Robert.
Good night, sir.
I wouldn't call these people journalists. I will call them jokey. Jokey. They are jokey. They should have been storming down San Francisco. That is what has Trinidad here. Trinidad people suffering now.
Wow.
From San Francisco. Cause and effect. Thank you, Mr. Robert.
Thank you very much, caller.
Yeah.
This is what I would have expected. I know the media hate the UNC. But I say, look, they will stand up for the children of this country. Is it to say that you folks hate the UNC so much that when the UNC bring the facts and the message out there, that you will allow it to fall on deaf ears and not protect the children of this country because the UNC exposed, defiled, sitting within the hands of the Prime Minister for over 5 months? Shame on you, media houses. Shame on you, TV6 and CNC3 and Express and Guardian and Newsday. Shame on you. How could you? How could you not condemn the action of the Prime Minister for having a document that tells him that these acts are being perpetrated as we speak, and he will take this document and shelf it? And the media will not condemn such brutal action? That is where we reach. I want to tell this country, listen to me, because I just bring it without clothes, you know. I don't have time to put makeup and lip gloss and I can't really mascara the whole thing. I just bring it just so. Just so. And here we're going and bring for you just so now. I am telling you tonight, if those documents, those reports, did say to you that there are a pedophile ring within the UNC, they would have nasty them papers. Them papers would have been nasty for weeks and months. Nasty. I have proof. When Rowley came out with email gate, the toilet paper that even the doncier journalists and them know wasn't emails. The doncier bias journalists and them know that it wasn't email. Even the investigators, if them didn't know that that paper was not email, then they how come they get a job, boy? How come you get a job? But you know what? They beat that for weeks. They beat that for months. They beat that. I am telling you, radio station, beat that email conspiracy theory that Rowley brought, which suggests Kamla Munilal, Gary Griffith, and who others conspiring to kill journalists. They beat that until they beat the ink out of the paper from that paper that Rowley purports to be email. They beat the ink out of it. If those reports had suggested that the UNC was implicated in the abuse of these children, let me tell you something. Boy, they would have paid front page, first page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10, straight down to 32. Every page, down to the sport page and all, that I say UNC high official playing sports with our children in the homes. Down to the sports page, they would have beat it out. But you know what? The documents show who is the nasty set of people. So guess what? They have nothing to say. I have to do an investigation. I have to start a check now and see which one, 2 or 3 are those journalists involved or are members of that pedophile ring. That you want to check. I had to check and see if all passing by them home and take up children in the night. That's why you're afraid to talk. All you can't talk. Like all in that nasty thing too. Like all in that nasty business too. All you ain't talking. All you have a prime minister that take a report and shelf it for 5 months while with children being raped and bugger and burned with cigarette and beaten and all kind of wickedness. And all you're not blazing the prime minister for shelving that report. All you're not blazing Ayanna Webster Roy. All you're not blazing the PNM. All you're just quiet. And all you're just allowing it to take place. And all you call yourself media and journalists. them badge they have on a little chest should catch a fire. Should catch a fire. All this set of wicked, evil people. Wicked, evil people. A prime minister shelf a report of that nature. And nobody. Let me move on. That is about what? 5 or 6 I lost count. But we going. Whatever is the next number. We going again. We have seen a couple months ago 4 men, 4 fathers, 4 breadwinners, 4 families were plunged into mourning when these 4 divers lose their life in their line of duty. 4 families, 4 fathers, 4 citizens, 4 human beings suffocate and die in what I could only consider to be the worst circumstance. Today, no investigation. Today, no answers. Today, children are without their fathers. Today, wives have become widows. Today, mothers and fathers lose their son, brothers and sisters, family lose their relatives. Today, no justice. Today, the media have forgotten. The media of this country will not put a small article, small few lines in a little back page, center page, or any page, just by saying these few words. We are calling for justice for these 4 young men. That is all. That is all. Nothing else, media. That is all. Welcome, caller.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Well, if the Prime Minister could shelve the report and the media take no interest in the pedophile report, maybe we have to question the integrity of Justice Judith Jones. It would appear that she is lacking in integrity, and hence the reason why so-called journalists seems uninterested in such a report. It is clearly that her credibility comes into question clearly. Because you can't tell me that this eminent jurist, who we thought was an eminent jurist, prepares a report and submits it, and just up short of identifying people by serial number. You is a pedophile, Mr. You is a pedophile. She just stopped there, you know. But if you read the report, it tells you exactly who they are. Her credibility comes into question, comes into focus. And I feel that is the direction we have to go and force Judith Jones to do something about her report, which she so erroneously compiled and submitted. What choice do we have? Let them come and defend the report. Because clearly, it is indefensible, according to mainstream media and them 2x4 so-called journalists. We're waiting with their hands stretched. It's the only profession in the country that easy to prostitute, you know. They prostitute the profession. So what do you expect?
Thank you, my brother.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, my brother. And it seems as though that the caller, he left with no choice. But we have 4 divers. 4. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. 4 young men. Put them back up there, Chief, if you find them. 4 young men who lose their lives. And while we would expect that at least the media will do their part, just as how they propagate that email gate report for over 2 years, we would have expected just 2 months media, just 2 months, we would have been seeing these guys once more on the media, just asking for justice. That is all, nothing else. Just asking for justice for these families, where these families could get closure, where they could understand what really took place on that fateful day. But today, the media will say absolutely nothing about these 4 young men who lose their life in the line of duty. That is where we are. That is how sick these media houses operate. So that is probably number 8 or somewhere they are reached. I lost count. But we're moving on. We're moving on. We have an attorney general. An attorney general who was once the chair of the Law Association. An attorney general who is not a junior but a senior counsel. Welcome, caller.
Mr. Robert, short, sweet. If what you want this thing, then I bring back the old time guy, they don't big one we had on in front of me. The media will bring out that big one. This one papers will be too small for that.
Correct.
You will have to bring back the big paper.
Correct.
Right. I'll go on with that.
Correct, my brother. Thank you.
Right.
We have an attorney general who was handpicked out of the Law Association by the Prime Minister and given the appointment of Attorney General. We had an Attorney General before. They call him everything. They call him Chambers. You know that song Chambers don't see? They call him clown. They call him idiot. They call him 2x4. They call him lawbreaker in the law abiding in the day and lawbreaker at night. And then have a name you just call him, boy. Nah, not you. I'm talking about Alwari. It's tight pants or something. Yeah, tight pants, So dribble on yourself, flexing muscle, all kind of thing. All kind of name, man. Let's call this poor man. And to the end of the day, I believe that every name they call he, fit he. Every name they call Alwari, I believe it fit him. But I never believe that they could have found a next Attorney General worse than Alwari. You see, that also tell me about the Prime Minister judgment. I understand why he have certain friends, why he associate with certain people. Because as I say, birds of a feather flew together. See that word? I'm pronouncing that word right now. Nah? So I understand. I understand. Because if the Prime Minister could pick a man like Amo and put him as the head of Trinidad business, put him to oversee Solicitor General DPP office, list long so, and that Attorney General who was once the chair of the Law Association could sit down in a plane, had to be a Caribbean airline, and flew all the way to Miami. Swear under oath, sign that declaration, and then stand up I wonder if you were sitting down and lie I don't understand that word. Lie to a U.S. Miami court that he was some note taker and he had minimum interference in the said Piarco matter, the same matter that the Privy Council threw out, and the same breaking news earlier on where we tell you that the DPP discontinuing all matters against those who are accused of wrongdoing in the Piarco International Airport investigation. DPP done with that. This man that you're seeing on the screen, an attorney, if you know what that is, a lawyer, if you know what that is, one who study law, if you understand, one who pass the exam faster than Alwari. I hope when the time reach, I might be able to pass mines too, who knows. Pass his exam. And flew all the way to Miami. Stand up on that oath. And lied to a Miami court. get disqualified. And here the media headline, not so fast armor. When you would have believed that this Attorney General would have been beaten the front page in shame and disgrace. In shame and disgrace on a daily basis. You know what happened? They gave you all kind of story that he forget and he appeal and he wanted to clear up and he didn't remember and he didn't this and he didn't that and he didn't the other. That is what you're getting from them. That is what you're getting from them. When you would expect that the media would have this gentleman on the front page for over a week, calling for his resignation, calling for him to demit office, calling for him to resign, calling for him to be suspended from practicing, suspended from the bar. A liar is a dangerous man. A liar is a thief is a liar, a liar is a thief is a liar, a liar, a thief is a criminal.
Good night.
Welcome, caller.
I feel I have to call and remind you of Mr. Amor's achievement. He was able to elevate Al-Rawi to being the second worst Attorney General in the entire known Commonwealth and international law region. The second worst. He was able to do that. He himself, by himself, he was able to elevate Al-Rawi. I rest my case, sir.
Call out this place in a mess. Thank you. You have a next call, Archie? Where it going? This man, we would have expected that the media would have been highlighting the disgrace that this man brought upon this country, the disgrace that this man brought upon the law fraternity, the disgrace that this man has brought upon the office of Attorney General, the disgrace that this man have brought upon the judicial system. Welcome, caller.
Good night again, Mr. Robert.
Yes, sir.
You know, there's a meaning to name. Recently, it had a fed down in Brian Lara Stadium. You know what they call it? Think and dirty. All right. You remember the impeachment trial for that Sharma? You'll have to understand. Who was the lead counsel for that? A fella named, not Amo, Aleph. Them fellas, they recycle it. I tell only, I have the manual, O'Halloran memo, you know, that was an appendix 15, you know, all the conspirators, you know. So it's the same set of people. They just bring them in as they are sleeping cells, sniper. When they trigger them, they come up. That is, oh gosh, anytime I listen to that, and look, you see how karma does look after people now? It wasn't the Lokoto Jumbi, you know. It's karma that affected Patrick Manning. What he did, he hung it out. The Chief Justice, and we still can't find a reason why they did it. It was a conspiracy to the highest order, and he had a lot of senior attorneys. The former AG, he's still practicing. You had the man who was the Chief Magistrate's lawyer. He have an apartment next to the vaccine vagrant in, what do you call this? In Tobago. So all of them, the benefit is stink and dirty. And in retrospect, if we look at all of the things, it comes down to one. The man was an Indian man. It comes down to that.
I mean to say, why they didn't want to root him out. People have to understand the man was a jurist of competence, and everybody. I read back the thing. You know, the case collapsed with this fella, the chief magistrate. You know, when they give a other fella to investigate that, he say everything proper. A fella by the name Humphrey Stelmeyer. He was a judge, and he say everything clean. What the really was doing, because when it went to court in the criminal court, it collapsed. And then you had an AG, Mr. John, who failed to show up in the impeachment trial. So all of these things coming back to haunt them. When you do bad for somebody, just come back to bite you. Look what happened with the one now. The man, I mean to say, everybody saying he lying. Yes, want to sue nobody. Blame sue them. Just like how one of the talk shows Ground Report, they spelt it upon the vaccine Reagan about his behavior in 1969. You understand? I go and have a nice night.
Thank you, caller. This disgrace that we have for our Attorney General. Let me tell you something, Trinidad and Tobago. Listen to this. This man oversees the Registrar General Department. He oversees the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. He oversees the Office of Chief State Counsel. He oversees the Office of the Solicitor General. He oversees the Law Revision Commission. He oversees the Office of Chief Parliamentary Counsel. He oversees the Anti-Terrorism Unit, as well as the Intellectual Property. That is the Attorney General that I'm speaking about. These 8 top agencies in this country fall within the purview of this individual. And when we have a man who will stand up and lie under oath to an international court, I would have believed that the media of this Trinidad and Tobago would have published all the 4 mentioned agencies that this man is charged with some kind of responsibility, and show the importance of why an Attorney General must be without repute, why an Attorney General must be above board, why any Attorney General must not bring his office in disrepute. That is what I would have expected. This bias, no good, PNM media houses to bring to the public domain to expose the seriousness of that breach by the Attorney General in that Miami court. But yet, within all of this that I have brought back to your memory, ladies and gentlemen, I am suggesting to you tonight that all that I have said in relation, while I highlight the negligence, the incompetence, and the biasness of the media houses, I also highlighted to you a number of criminal conduct. Whether it is misbehavior in public office, whether it is negligence, whether it's conspiracy to defraud or to pervert the course of natural justice, I am saying to you tonight that there are a number of criminal conduct and activities that this government must be held accountable for and placed before the courts to answer. Welcome, caller.
Good evening, Mr. Robert.
Good day, sir.
I have to say that the present Attorney General has earned his silk purely on merit, because he was able to do what Section 34 didn't do.
Right. I understand you. Thank you, caller. And you are quite right. He was able to do what Section 34 didn't do. And a matter of fact, I'm glad you raised that. In his defense, he tries to raise Section 34 in his own defense. That is as low as the bottom of the drum that a man would go to try to defend his error by trying to cast aspersions and blame on others in order to try to look good. Well, Amo, let me tell you something. Section 34 had no merit whatsoever. It had done nothing save getting the man who orchestrated Section 34 fired from the cabinet of the Honorable Kamla Prasad Bisesa. That is what Section 34 did. Fire the individual who was culpable for that section. And you were able, as the caller rightly said, to produce what Section 34 did not produce and could not produce. A matter of fact, the same Section 34 that the government that you now sit in voted and support, which was repealed by the opposition at the time, you were able to succeed. What I'm saying to you is that you are worse than the thoughts of the individual who put together Section 34. You are worse. You are a disgrace to the office of Attorney General in our country. And if you had any form of merit left within your veins, you would have packed your bag, tender your resignation, and get out of office. Welcome, caller.
Good evening, Comrade Roberts,
yes,
Archie, and Tobago. That fellow you have up on the screen there, Reginald Amo. I want you to remember that there is a man who sits in the Commission of Inquiry to close down PICO and the Hindu Credit Union, and they still do the financial sector for one person to run away with it.
Huh.
You see how this is the asset now of PICO, and you see who is the Attorney General to sign off on it? There is a big conflict again. So check it. Parasarari, Point Lisa, Ispat Locals, Stuart Young, on the Commission of Inquiry, the Finance, what we hear, Minister of Energy, and he was Attorney General. And see, the 40 pieces of silver, the state entities and private entities, to see to change it in their own private hand. Reginald Amo, and them fellas and them, they just forget. But the nice thing about it, jail waiting for him in Miami, because the pride of the Hindu Credit Union people, the old people in those days where the senior citizens worked hard in the sugar canes and put the money in an institution And it's had the portfolio, the loans to pay out the money. They come now and they shut them down. So what goes around comes around. So the demise is just because the media, and when they know the media is promoting now with Mr. Pandey and then fellas and after 20 years, it's gone sour because it's not. It's tit for tat that they say a certain attorney general has to pay out money, and how much money pay, and who pays? Because of what? The same old cases are there with the Privy Council and International Court, and they want to put them before the court. But they say nasty days, and the media will not do it because you know why? Great is the PNM and the Balizé juice, and it's clear to see because if the House Speaker can get on like that, and the Senate President, right, and shut it down, and Trinidad and Tobago, the supporters and then coming out to stand up and see that. Then here what's going on. When King Papa do good come back to this country, you know what? If we call a snap election and get the constitution majority, is the books he going for, you know? The constitution books to change it. And we understand that. And we as people, when the call to put the media in face and check and balance, nobody wants to do it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Eh? So have a nice night.
Correct caller. Correct caller. Thank you for your contribution. This man still sitting, earning a salary. He has brought the Law Association into shambles. He have allowed the little bit of trust that people would have had in that association to fall apart. When a senior counsel could stand up, brass face, and commit that type of perjury on an international soil, it tells you, ladies and gentlemen, where we are today in what we consider to be a democracy. You see, who knows what else? You see, I think people missing the point with the power of an attorney general. You know. I think people missing the point, people overshadowing the real responsibility that this attorney general have in our constitution. And if you could lie with a straight face just so, and now pretend that you have amnesia, and pretend that you have some kind of brain disorder that you remember inconveniently and you can't remember conveniently, and you was in some days, because I don't know if because you're studying, you was in Miami or wherever, I don't know if you was studying back what going on here, I don't know if you have any information about who is some of those pedophiles. I don't know if you have any information of who are some of those individuals. And I don't know what you was really thinking about. That you just couldn't remember and come straight out and talk and say, yes, I was involved. I don't know. I don't know if it was a conspiracy. Let me repeat it again. I don't know if it was a conspiracy. I asked it from a friend who sit down here right now. If it was a conspiracy to ensure that the case smash up, I don't know. I don't know if it was a conspiracy to ensure that this case go through the window. I do not know. I want somebody to tell me. I am asking from a friend. I want somebody tell me, because I really trying to understand what is happening. I trying to understand. So we're going to take a break and pay a few bills and pay a few ads. And when we come back, Foster comments, I ain't forget you. We'll be back.
Volume.
Welcome, caller.
Good night. Good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night.
What happened is you not hearing any voice after the break.
Go ahead, I hear you. You go ahead.
I'm saying we're not getting any volume after the break.
Oh, no. Sorry, we had no volume on. Sorry.
All right. All right.
All right, thank you. Take the next one time there, actually. Welcome, caller. Welcome, caller.
Hello?
Hello, welcome. Go ahead, caller, we hearing you. All right, so like we lost that one. Oh, we didn't have no audio. All right, so let me come back with the breaking news because it seems that we didn't have no audio earlier on. What I'm saying is breaking news. The Prime Minister friend, Damian Lane, has been arrested on gun-related charges. He was held after police searched his house as a result of an incident where a firearm belonging to him was allegedly found in the possession of one of his friends. As a result of that, police conducted a search on his property where 27 high-power firearms were found. That is that gentleman that you are seeing in the picture, in the photo with the Prime Minister. That's the Prime Minister, good friend. You see, I think I understand the kind of man the Prime Minister really is, you know. I think I understand that because you see, a bird, I just see some blue jean, and you will never see a dove lying and flying with blue jean. When you see Kiskidi, you ain't seen blue jean and dove with Kiskidi, you know. It's Kiskidi alone moving. And the Prime Minister tell us that he called his friend when he was under investigation with fake oil. He called his friend and he called Devki Singh. He said what kind of man he would be if he hears something that his friend in problems and he called to find out what is that about. So I'm waiting to see now if the Prime Minister will call his friend Damian Lane to see what is going on with them firearm. So I'm waiting to see. I'm waiting to see if he go call his friend. Other breaking news. MP Dinesh Rambali. You know that man. He claimed that Senator Sagram Singh. He claiming that Senator Sagram Singh is misbehaving. Is misbehaving within the precincts of the parliament by attempting to pervert the course of justice. That is what the MP is claiming. MP Dinesh Rambali, you could go on the UNC page and get it, is claiming that Senator Sagram Singh, yes, that senator, is misbehaving by attempting to pervert the course of justice. Look up that story. Go up on the UNC page and you will find that story. Thirdly, Minister Man. Minister Man is a public utility minister. Mr. Marvin. met with WASA. Not to give them a back pay. Not to tell them that they will get 10% instead of 2, 3, and 4. But he met with them to let them know that 600 WASA workers would be going not in the Miami court, but they will be going home. That is the next piece of breaking news. So we have the Prime Minister friend, Mr. Ling, being arrested for arms and ammunition. We have MP Dinesh Rambali accusing Senator Sagram Singh of attempting to misbehave in public office. And we have Minister Mann meeting with WASA to let them know that bye-bye 600. Great is the PNM. Take the call, Archie. Welcome, caller.
Yeah, good night. Yeah, good night, Victor. One more time. It seems like the local government minister is a gang member too, because all the contracts were given to gang leaders and their members. Have a good night.
Caller, I like that. And you can't put nothing past them, you know. You can't put nothing past these PNM people and them, because if they could interfere with little boys and girls, then you can't put nothing past them. Nothing at all. So Damian Ling is in custody at this time in relation to a gun case, 27 high-power guns found in his possession. We have Senator Sagram Singh, according to MP Dinesh Rambali, who is saying that she is attempting to pervert the course of justice. And of course, we have Marvin Gonzalez, the Minister of Public Utilities, who is also meeting with WASA workers, letting them know that 600 of them would be going on the bread line. That is how great the PNM. That is how great the PNM. How do I say it? Great is the PNM. Great is the PNM. That's how great the PNM really is. Welcome, caller.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
I wonder if... Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if these fellas will be fired from Warsaw, where if they would be marching if they have any other march again. If they would come out.
Well, one way or the other, they're going out, you know. One way or the other. So if they... Yeah, go ahead. We lost him there. One way or the other, caller, they're going out. They want to come out and march. They want to come out, they're going out. And let me tell you something. T&Tech going just now. T&Tech is the next people they're coming for. But that will manifest itself as it go ahead. So let us see if Rowley will call Damian Ling and ask him what is this he hearing, because he said that he has called a good friend to find out what's going on. What is this new thing he hearing? So let's see how serious Rowley is in relation to your friend and them. So, Foster comments. Foster comments. I ain't hearing nothing about Foster comments these days. I ain't seeing him nowhere jumping up. The last place I think I saw him was in a church. I see him in a church and he dancing. And I was wondering if that church got a good collection. Excuse. I was wondering if that church got a good collection because the way I see dancing and the way I see performing, I hope that church get a little collection. Because they have it, you know. Those guys have it, they have it. When you look at 4.4 million, yeah, that's him, man. Let me see him. Yeah. Yeah, man, Foster, man, yeah. Yeah, Foster, Prance and Jump, boy. It have our next song they're going to be singing just now. Let me start it for you. That song will very well be, hear the rhythm, Foster. Hear the rhythm, Foster. Hear the rhythm. Foster in the garden, hiding. Foster in the garden, hiding from Jacob. Foster, where art thou? Foster, where art thou? Foster in the garden, hiding. Foster in the garden, hiding from Jacob. You see, I would have been singing that song already. I would have been singing that song long time. If this country was serious, if this acting police commissioner was serious, I would have been singing that song long time. Welcome, caller.
Yeah, we can't hear you. We can't hear.
Oh, you still can't hear me?
No, we can't hear the break.
All right, check now. You go hear me now because you answer me, so that means you're hearing me. You hearing me now?
No, I'm not hearing you on the screen.
So you ain't hearing me right now?
I hear you on the phone, but what about it? I'm not hearing Victor Robets.
Oh, on the screen. All right. We fix that. All right, thank you, caller. Yeah, if the police commissioner was a serious acting police commissioner, I would have been singing that song long time. Because you can't tell me that since 2019, there's a special branch report sitting there marked top secret. And it's still secret. It seems as though like it's still secret. Even though it exposed, it's still secret. You understand? 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. Still secret. Nothing. And every time you ask, is under investigation. It's still under investigation. But guess what? A man will commit fraud today. And by the time next week, fraud squad have him. A man will kill somebody today. And by the time later, homicide have him. A man will break a house today. And by the time later, they have him. But as government officials is allegedly tied up in corruption, not all we hear in this investigation. You see, it's a special privilege for them, you know. It's a special privilege for them. The privilege that government officials have, the common thief and the common criminal on the road don't have that. But them have a special privilege. And the privilege that they have, it is called protected by high officials. That is the privilege that they have. It is one law for you and another law for them. If anybody else in any office get tied up with any kind of investigation like that, they're on suspension long time. Welcome, caller.
We are getting audio on the TV, you know.
No audio on TV?
No. We are hearing you at all.
Yeah, I on. I ain't that fair nothing here.
No, we ain't getting nothing. I get you on the phone, I hear you on the TV right now. I watching you since the last hour. But Rowley and this white man on the movie on the screen, you know.
Right. No, what they're
I
saying.
want to know who is that white man.
They're saying they're hearing it on the phone, but they're not hearing it on the TV like on YouTube.
Right.
Well, brother, sometimes YouTube does mute we, based on what we're dealing with, they will mute us sometime, eh? Yeah, but I think everything up and running there. Yeah, but you say you hear him on the phone, but not on the YouTube. You hear him on YouTube there? All right, let's go. So it's one law for them and a next law for us. Because you cannot tell me that all these investigation going on. Yeah, hello? Yeah, welcome, caller.
Even Mr. Roberts and Archie, here going on. McDonald Jacob is on the scene, but he has seen no irregularity. That's what he has say. Because they know what's going on. When Gary Griffith, advisor, who is a police in the national security, he had high power, they hung him down and they make a big thing. It's not quite mean chief ministers, but here what's going on. You call him and they'll have an inquiry, and then they will appeal, they will not appeal and prosecute because there's no wrong. There's somebody workers on them who work in teachers' cotton line.
Yeah.
They pick up a tree, a piece of log, because they had a barbecue that boy. And it's when they open the log, they see the thing fall out. So they will come up, and what's a worker, they send them home. What got him is quoting is that it's the storm. Marvin Gonzalez tell them go home for the storm, not retrenchment. Because you know why? They're safe. They don't have to provide adequate water. That's why they get it in the waterways now. Because they see the nastiness. All of them feel greater GPNM and the Balizé juice will run through the vein and save them. But the life water now, right? They'll never see what they will get a photo work and a contract. They'll send them home just like petrol workers. Have a nice night.
Thank you. So the number to call is 373-5488. 373-5488. 5488 is the number to call. The code is 373-5488. So we have a number of investigations going on. We are Camille Robinson Regis credit card and this bank deposit and bank money. You understand? Look how long. And every time, all the time, all we will hear until they leave office is the under investigation. That's all you will hear. Welcome, caller. Yes, caller, go ahead.
I now pull up the thing we now talk about on the page. They are troubling the cook in the Balizé.
Don't make joke.
Yeah, I know when the police are playing. There's a lot of things hiding. Yes, caller, go ahead. I now pull up the thing we now talk about on the page. They are troubling the cook in the Balizé. Yeah, now you are really watching. Yeah, really watching.
I hardly hear him there, actually.
Yeah.
Thank you, caller. Yeah. So we have all them investigation going on, and all you will hear from these people is it's under investigation. Every time you raise the issue, it's under investigation. They're under investigation 1 year. They're under investigation 2 years. 5 years pass, they're still under investigation. Next election call is still under investigation. This election will come and done, and they're still under investigation. And all we hearing is that they're under investigation. That's all we hearing. There is no action. How could you have people in government with such serious allegations hanging over their head, and they still operates as nothing, still having the kind of influence that they have as ministers where they can manipulate and interfere and make deals and cut flick and do all what they had to do in order to escape the judgment. All what they had to do. How come under Kamla Prasad Bisesa we could not have seen this kind of behavior with people remaining when there was allegation, less allegation on what we are seeing here now, and Kamla send people home to clear the name and come back. Today we have all these allegations, all these misbehavior from the Prime Minister come back, and all we hearing is that they're under investigation. We have an acting commissioner of police. Well, he's a toy. He's a real toy. I listened to he recently with the highway murder and other places. And the man ain't have a clue what to say. The man he know what to say. Talking one pack of rubbish. And you is acting commissioner of police. You think other officers have respect for you? They know you are controlled by the political directorate. They know you are controlled by politicians. They know politicians tell you what to do and what not to do. You feel they have any respect for you? All these investigations, all of these hanging up. Year go, year come. And nothing, absolutely nothing. You know why? Because all are appointed by the PNM. So all are appointed by the PNM so they could do what they want. You understand? They could do what they want in this country. But, I will tell you something today. There's always a saying. There's always a saying that time is longer than twine. And you see the evil that all encouraging in this country? The evil that all encouraging in this country, those of you who sits in authority and continue to cover up the conspiracies and cover up the corruption simply because all you get an appointment, to the end of the day, it will come back and bite everyone all you. Every single one all you. It will come back and bite. Mark my words. You see, all you're playing, all you ain't playing, all you playing that all you don't know that what goes around come around. What goes around come around. It's going to come back and bite everyone all you. All you go ahead, thief the people money, go ahead, cover it up, go ahead, bank it, carry it Miami, carry it California, carry it Grenada, carry it St. Vincent, carry it anywhere you want to carry it. Carry it. Carry it. Don't afraid, carry it. One mistake going to reveal. Remember that. One mistake. You see, they don't ask all kind of questions already. You see, all they have all kind of questions to answer. All they know exactly what you're talking about, you know. All they have all kind of questions to answer. All they will have to answer them. Because let me tell you something. The wrong that all they're doing in this country against the poor people, against the people who can't buy food, against the people who can't pay the bill, all you're going to pay. All you're going to pay. I wonder what is the position with Stuart Young stepdaughter case. I wonder what is the position with that. All you remember Stuart Young had a stepdaughter who was arrested and charged for narcotics. I wonder what is the position with that case. Media. What is the position with that case? Is this stepdaughter in this country or is she in New York? I'm trying to find out. Somebody call me up now, 316-4468. Call my personal number. Give me some information. Where's Stuart Young's stepdaughter who charged for narcotics? She in the country or she out of the country? If she not in the country, how she leave? Which judge grant she permission to leave? Let me know who is the judge. Talk to me earlier. Tell me what's going on. What is the status of that matter? We ain't hearing nothing. Nobody says anything. That is how the game play. One law for them and next law for you. Anyone earlier who get locked up with that kind of narcotics, or you cannot leave this jurisdiction. Cannot. But guess what? I want to know where Stuart Young's stepdaughter is. I want to know if she here or she there. That is what I want to know this evening. You see, this country really stinks. Really, really stinks. With the level of corruption and nepotism that this country now experiencing. We have to do something. We have to do something, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, caller.
Hello. Yeah, is this 97.5?
Go ahead, caller.
Is there a radio station?
Yes, go ahead, we hear you.
All right. Because I hear Victor still talking and you told me on the phone.
Yeah, we have a little feedback. It have a little delay. It have a little delay.
Oh, all right. I was listening to Victor's song yesterday, but I think I would say you have it wrong, sir, because Jacob hiding in his action because he's afraid of Rowley. He can't lock up. He can't lock up Pastor. If he lock up Pastor, he gone, and he know that. Have a nice day, sir. A nice night.
Thank you. Thank you, caller. Well, caller, that is the Cosa Nostra. That is the mafia course. Everybody keep everybody's secret, and then we appoint people in position to ensure that the secret are well kept. That is the Cosa Nostra. That is how the codes work. So we will appoint people in position to protect our bidding, to protect our wrongdoing. We will appoint judges in places through our long hands. By removing Satshama, we have appointed people in place where we could get the result we want out of the judiciary. We could get a judge move, and we could get a judge to listen a matter that we want, and we could get a judgment that we decide. So we keep our people in place despite the allegations and wrongdoing that sits over the head, despite spending time in a hotel. We could keep with people in place, and we people will do our bidding to ensure that the mafia code remain intact, and that those who we appoint in strategic places, they are appointed there to protect and to serve us and to ensure that we keep safe with the wrongdoing that we do. We appoint them to ensure that we are well protected. And that is why this country will continue to get out of hand. You know why? Because the man on the street seeing what happening. The man on the street understand what is taking place. So the man on the street have no respect for law and order anymore. You ask any child, 10 years and above, who have sense to understand what is right and what is wrong, and you ask any one of those children if they have respect for Keith Rowley, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Foster Cummins, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Camille Robinson Regis, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Fitzgerald Ethelbert Hines, they will get the answer. If they have respect for Penelope Beckers, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Brian Manning, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Noah Breaker, you will get the answer. If they have respect for Marvin Gonzalez, you will get the answer. And if they have respect for the short man with the Rasta hairstyle, you will get the answer. And you may very well get more answer. You see, I know time is out, but what's in the dark will be exposed. And we will be here to expose it. We will be here under the leadership of Kamla Prasad Bisesa to rescue this country from the hands of this evil, wicked, pedophile government, where our children in the homes and out of the homes will have an opportunity, will have a future, and those who will be beneficiary to the public purse, something that they will not get under the People's National Movement. Good night.
Indeed, of course. Good morning to you.
Yes.
Yes, well, of course,
good morning to the ground report. Good morning to the people.
Nice.
Good morning.
Morning. Nice. We hear you loud and clear.
Good morning to Faris Al-Rawi. Good morning to Faris Al-Rawi, a.k.a. Johnny Sukaran, who lift up and carry sandbag all over the place. And God just make him exercise for no reason. But good morning.
Yeah, the intention was clear. But we call you, Anil, to find out why it is that the president of the Senate will, of course, you quoting from a decision of the Privy Council about political interference, political bias, and yet still give a ruling to emasculate you by saying that you are politicizing. I just don't understand the logic. You were there, you experienced it. Could you tell us what transpired there?
Well, clearly it follows the trend of the PNM. The PNM since 1956 is all about control. It's all about infiltration. It's all about getting people to do what they want. The PNM is anti-independent thought, anti-independent decisions, anti-independent institutions. If you're a PNM member of the cult, they can do you anything and you must say, great is the PNM. They can tell you and they can be the most vile. They can deposit 4.4 million and not know where it passed, how it passed. Give money to a company that has not been contracted or wins a tender, and they move forward. The PNM has infiltrated over the last 65 years every institution of Trinidad and Tobago. You had an integrity commissioner, a man who was a judge in his previous incarnation, who's now been appointed by the very same PNM to head an inquiry into the Point 14 highway, where an independent British arbitral panel said that the PNM is corrupt and they stopped the contract without any valid reason and have to pay $852 million. The PNM chooses a judge who tells you, Lennox Smith, who tells the population, listen, those things were not emails. They did not even come up to the standard to become an email. They're not in any cloud, whether storm cloud, internet cloud. They never existed. But that's not the point. We must investigate the contents of something that does not exist. A more ludicrous, illogical statement has never been made. This is what the PNM is. Because the PNM wants to control their opponents. The PNM wants to deal with the opposition in a manner that is not fair. The PNM cannot stand the test of a fair competition because they will lose and they will be found wanting because they are not led or created to serve the people. They have been created through the history and have exacerbated that over the decades of selfish aggrandizement and enrichment of those in the upper echelons. End of story. So in a political fight, if there is fairness and equity, if the EBC is fair and is run by an independent person to put boundaries which reflect fairness and population based on equations and mathematics, the PNM will lose. So this debate yesterday is a continuation of that. The PNM want to go to the CCJ because the PNM cannot influence the Privy Council. And don't tell me, a douglAR here who represent this country in swimming, football, coaching, Olympics, my TV show, radio show is all red, black and white, patriotic to the bone. Don't tell me that I don't believe in my people. I do believe in the brilliance of my people, but I also understand the negatives and the evil, the obi and the influence of the PNM that has infiltrated every iota of society in Trinidad and Tobago. So the PNM cannot control those old white men over and across the Atlantic. There is no Balisay juice over there. There is no Balisay house. There is no contract. There is no influence. There is no control. There is no rubbing shoulders. So they want to remove that and put it with something right down Henry Street, where they could rub shoulders in a cocktail party, where you could get VIP ticket for a fete, where you could have some discussions quietly as you go to eat scones up in Newbury Hill. That's what the PNM wants to do, and the UNC will have none of it. Let me show you why. In the history of Trinidad and Tobago, in political cases, Lennox, Andy, and Mikey K, let me give you some of the people who went through our system down here. And they went through the stages, and they lost. But then they went out across the Atlantic, far away, where Balisay juice does not exist. And they won, and they were vindicated. Let me call some of those names, and then y'all tell me if this system is fair, and if you need to keep the Privy Council, or if you want to give the PNM another institution that they could take the time and infiltrate. Satnarayan Sharma, convicted down here twice, vindicated in the Privy Council. Pastor Pandey, vindicated in the Privy Council. Findbar Ganga, vindicated in the Privy Council. Brian Kwaitong, vindicated in the Privy Council. Ganraj Singh, convicted and told and thrown away the key in Trinidad and Tobago under Balisay juice, but vindicated in the Privy Council. Vijay Narayan Singh, vindicated in the Privy Council. Tim Gopi Singh, vindicated in the Privy Council. Ish Galbaran Singh, vindicated in the Privy Council. Understand where we live. Do you know that in this judgment that I hold in my hand, the law lords were so scathing about PNM former Attorney General John Jeremy that he had such control over the Chief Magistrate that he interfered. He got involved in land deal worth 200,000. He called executives to reverse their policy, and the law lords described it as reprehensible conduct. The PNM Attorney General, John Jeremy, how come he is not facing charges? Lennox, didn't Anand Ramlogan get charged even though he denied it? Anand Ramlogan denied it and is sub judice, so I'm not going to go into the details. But Anand Ramlogan was charged in our beloved country because somebody say that he asked Mr. West of the PCA to withdraw a statement in a case, a witness. Okay? Now let us say, we're not talking about our case, but if he did that, okay, that's wrong, and anything that is wrong, we stand on the side of righteousness, and you have to go through the process. But when you compare what we just spoke about involving Anand Ramlogan, just a witness statement in a case of no major import, but you have on document 26 pages of a scathing judgment against a PNM Attorney General showing interference, influence, misbehavior in public office and otherwise, and yet he is free and earning briefs and not charged in the interference in a case in such a manner that the law lords far across the globe, they quashed the entire case. 22 years of submissions, of legal costs, of taxpayers' money, 22 years, $100 million of taxpayers' money gone down the drain because of a PNM Attorney General once again overstepping their bounds and getting involved and influencing the judiciary. How come no charges have been proffered against him? How come you have a former Attorney General, now sandbag man, who interfered with a witness in a criminal probe, showing and signing an indemnity, but no charge? How come Rowley did not declare on his integrity form Inez Gate and a benefit of $468,000 for himself and $500,000 for his daughter, and he did not declare it, and he is not locked up? But Bastille Pandey got locked up and was eventually vindicated by the Privy Council because his wife, he did not declare an account that his wife had control of. This is the country in which we live, in which there's one law for the PNM and one law for everybody else. And I say fire upon the PNM, get rid of the PNM, and Trinidad and Tobago will breathe.
Wow. Well done. You made a comment there that I think needs ventilating as well. Justice Ventor. He was the integrity commissioner. He was vice chairman at the time, who resigned and in disagreement of the decision of the commission at that time, the integrity commission, that the emails that was preferred by Rowley in the parliament was null and void, of no effect, was nonsense, and yet still he resigned and came out and said that to look at the content. But I'm mentioning him to say that is the man that is now a single commissioner to investigate the whole question of lands acquisition on the highway to point 14. And whilst we are at that, of course, when the fake oil matter came out and the mashing up of Petrotrin, we see that Dr. Rowley's personal lawyer, Michael Kwamina, is now chairman of the holding company that houses all of the documents relating to that. I would love to hear your comments on that, having regard to what you have said earlier.
Well, my brother, quid pro quo is the way of the PNM. So when you serve them, when you serve their evil manner, when you make statements and support illogical, unsubstantiated positions, they promote you higher up. When you lie on an affidavit in a Miami court, they leave you as an attorney general even though you've breached over 16 clauses of the code of ethics of the legal profession. This is the PNM. Let me tell you, you have only gone through one or two little examples of bias and conflict of interest. You have to remember this is a government where Rowley, in that fake oil thing, Rowley, as he stated that man was his good friend, he should have recused himself from any and all matters involving that.
Because if you read the Newsday now, and you know that the Newsday is edited by Judy Raymond, who has a special affinity for Keith Rowley, that Kamala could never get so intimate with her because she does not have the equipment that Rowley has. Judy Raymond, in an editorial recently dealing with A.G. Armour, says and espouses the principle of apparent bias. Now, y'all are learned gentlemen, so you must understand. When you are dealing with court or arbitration or fairness, when someone has to listen to arguments and give a decision one way or the other, there is a principle called apparent bias. And all it does, for example, I love the Ground Report. I am a supporter of the Ground Report. So if there's an issue between the Ground Report and Robert Amar, let's say, I have to recuse myself from any involvement in that issue because I have an affinity and a closeness and a friendship with the Ground Report. Isn't that logical?
Yes, logical, yes, that's right.
And you must find somebody who is not connected to either side, let them hear the arguments like the Privy Council and make an adjudication, and then people will have confidence that it was fair, just, and impartial. That is the principle. But in Trinidad and Tobago, you have the PNM controlling and selecting who will be in charge. So a man who is so politically tainted, who would say that, listen, those things weren't emails, a little child could see. But let us resign and make a furor to try and protect Rowley's asinine lies and disgusting attack on a sitting prime minister, on a future commissioner of police and other ministers. Let us make this man and reward him to go and try and do some more work to sit down and arbitrate over commission of inquiry. Can anybody have confidence that whatever that man sit down there to do, that it will be fair and just? No, because he's stained not only with apparent bias, he's stained with actual bias from his previous incarnation at the Integrity Commission. And this is why Trinidad and Tobago is in a total and complete mess. Even the Chief of Defense Staff, do you recall when he was trying to defend the PNM position about border protection, where he miraculously put 1,000 hours into 1 week?
Yes,
that is politics. That is influence, and that is not good. The entire government, the entire governance structure, the central bank governor is a neighbor in Inez Gate of Rowley. The interlocking directorships, Ingrid Lashley is on 9 board, Eustace Nansen on 7 board, Narcissus Scope in the head of the EBC is the niece of a former sitting minister. That is why Trinidad and Tobago is in a mess. You have an attorney general who's sitting there after lying and signing an affidavit. If you, Mikey King, you and the Williams sign an affidavit and lie to the court, you know it's contempt of court, it's jail all you in Golden Grove, you urinating in a bucket. All you know that this man does that. And then on top of that, if you read what Ish Galbransing says, I'm going to read a little part of it for you all to show you all the morass and the cesspit and the chasm of influence and political bias that we are in. The sitting Attorney General, Ish Galbransing, yesterday expressed, says, what is interesting is that in this airport one matter, Armour represented Brian Quaita. Armour made no-case submissions on behalf of Brian Quaitam, which was accepted by Magistrate Sherman McNichols, because when he came to the court on the original 21 charges, he dismissed all the charges. So here you have a man, Reginald Armour, who calls a press conference as the Attorney General in 2022, saying he don't want to do any more Section 34 because them fellas, the previous government tried to get them off charges. But when you hear the truth, he was the attorney who made no case submissions back in the day, and all 21 were upheld, that they had no case to answer, no case to answer. Yet he comes to lie and pretend like these men were such on a trail of conviction that they were guaranteed and the case was a slam dunk, and calling Section 34
And now the Privy Council quashes the entire thing and says, Trinidad and Tobago, you all are warped. You are sick. You cannot adhere to the basic principles of law and justice. And therefore, this case is null and void after 22 years. And now them fellas could go and sue the government, and you, the taxpayers, have to pay them hundreds of millions of dollars for 22 years of torture because of PNM vindictiveness. That is what the debate is. We must keep the Privy Council for our sanity, for our fairness, for us to get an even shake, because the PNM is a dictatorship. And where is Rowley? Where is Rowley? Where is Rowley?
Now let me ask all the hard questions now. Let me ask all the hard questions to our honorable man. Right, to our very honorable man. I believe in what it is, and Robert say Trinidad and Tobago based on the Privy Council compared to the CCJ, Caribbean Court of Justice. Hey, let me stay with the white man any day, anytime on that, because the influence of the PNM is very, 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 very serious. Right? I also believe in all, as Mr. Robert said there, whereby look at, imagine people who do all them things still getting briefs, still making money. Everybody that just licking we up and continue to just being sanitized, right? So now we go back to a very, very important issue, which is again the system of Trinidad and Tobago, the system in which PNM create, as Mr. Roberts and all just mentioned, for all the years, they create a system of what it is we are facing today, right? The party in which I support is the UNC plain talk bad manners. I knowing now that the UNC, right, because the UNC, remember, you can't do this. Nobody can do this in the PNM. Nobody could question the PNM if they support the PNM. But if it's one thing, anybody could question the UNC whether they support the UNC or not. So my question is, knowing that we know all of that, knowing that we understand that the systems here real in a mess, what is the UNC stance when it's coming to, let me say, constitutional? Do you think, let me ask in this way then, do you as an individual, because UNC is many different people had to come up with that, including the members and all them things, but you as an individual, do you think that Trinidad and Tobago needs constitutional reform based on all these things that going on there? And if anybody else come in power, we have to hope that they're nice like Kamala, and if they're not nice like Kamala, they can do the same goddamn thing as which the PNM is doing at this point in time. What is your stand being a member of the UNC? What is your stand on all of this?
Let me say to my brother Andy, your question shows your love for the UNC. Because while you're trying to ask the hard question, you're asking it kind of soft, Andy. The real question you want to ask me as a UNC senator is, why the hell, when you was in government in 2010 to 2015, you didn't flip and change the constitution? Isn't that the question you want to ask me?
Yes!
But you love me so much, you love your UNC, you're asking me it soft. Don't ask me it soft, ask me it hard and direct. Let me now answer.
Go ahead.
In 2010 to 2015, just like in 1986 to 1991, it was not the UNC in government, it was a coalition of government. The People's Partnership Government consisted of UNC, COP, MSJ, TOP, and NJAC. So it was not a monolith body. There were people in the COP and the MSJ who at every juncture would not support and were not in one mind. Kamala Persad-Bissessar did an incredible job to hold such a disparate group together. So while we may have outwardly seemed like we had the requisite majority of seats, in fact, due to the coalition, we did not, because the COP especially was deleterious to good governance. Mr. Dukaran and Carolyn C. Persad-Bechan and Vernon de Lima and Nalini Dial and some of these people, they were not about government. They were about themselves, always attacking and not being unified. So while we may have had the desire, and Kamala Persad-Bissessar did get through with some minor changes with the local government, with the alderman, the proportional representation, and so on, we did not have the requisite majority to change it. The UNC has only been in power since 1956 for 1 year. I repeat, the United National Congress by itself has only been in power for 1 year. In 1986, the ULF joined with the ONR to form NAR, and went to 91. That's a coalition. In 1995, it was 17-17-2. The NAR 2 seats in Tobago then joined with the UNC to form the government, so it was not the UNC by itself. The UNC won the election outright, 1917 in 2000, but then Ramesh, Romeo, and Ralph got greedy and selfish, and the government collapsed. So the UNC has only been in power for 1 year. So do I believe we need constitutional reform? Yes, we do. Do I believe that the people must unite and give the UNC a mandate by itself so that Kamla Prasad-Bissessa can change the constitution? Yes. Therefore, I say all who want to splinter and divide must go away, because you are agents of the PNM. The UNC must be strong, together, united, so we can have a discussion like this, that Andy Williams can ask Anil Roberts, a UNC senator, any hard question, hold me to book, hold the government to book, and I'm not afraid to answer and debate. That's the governance we need, and we must do that in one party, one leader, so we can change the constitution and ensure that the PNM will be obliterated from the political landscape from now till time immemorial, because they've damaged us too much and our children are suffering.
Nice, because the people always say that the ground report or the pitbull UNC this. But I always say again, yes, I like my UNC. Yes, I support the UNC. But I'm not a blind loyalist and nothing that is wrong. And so, next question, right? Because we just had internal elections. It are people, I don't know, still dotish that they're still on the fence and wanting to weigh between the PNM and the UNC. I don't know what they're looking for. Or wait at to weigh again. Oh God, I don't know wait at to weigh again. But then again, we need to do this in order to win the others out there. So you say yes, constitutional reform. You being a member of the UNC and having a position within NATEC and all these different things, you say, well, all right, that is one of the things. So what about one term to a prime minister, 2 terms to a prime minister? What is the UNC take on that? And would these things be implemented or be talked about on a platform in order for the people to give the UNC that type of mandate that you are requiring? What are the things that would you all be highlighting, the things that needs to constitutionally change, such as the right to recall, MP, and all those different things? For instance, too, that how the hell the winning party picking a president and all them kind of drama thing, whereby it too we mad, this country just mad when it comes to formality. So yeah,
correct.
Yeah.
So we agree. Number one, Kamla Prasad-Bissessa has stated since 2010 that it's 2-term limits. But as I said, inside of that coalition, she could not get the Congress of the People especially to support her positions and move forward with the legislative agenda. So that is on the record. That is Kamla Prasad-Bissessa's position, a strong one. 2-term limit for a prime minister. She has agreed to that. She agreed to proportional representation. She agrees with constitutional reform. She agrees with changing and putting a speaker and a president of the House. Remember when Wade Mark, people like the ball UNC. Look, Wade Mark is my colleague, right? He's the leader of my bench in the Senate. But you all go back and look at the parliament when Wade Mark was speaker. Wade Mark used to give me more pressure than Rowley. Wade Mark used to interrupt me more times than Rowley. Wade Mark sent me to the Privileges Committee more than Rowley. Wade Mark stopped me and made me apologize more than Rowley. Wade Mark was a fair, well, I find he was overdoing with me, but he was a fair, he was a fair speaker who allowed the opposition to speak, unlike Blue Hair Lady and them now.
So you see, it has a lot to do with personality. Barry Sinan, the PNM speaker before, you would allow people to speak, but it is just Rowley, this Lekoto Jambi man, this man who put spirit lash on Manning. Rowley is the worst prime minister in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. The framers of the Constitution never envisaged that such a human being of low character, low morals, a pathological liar, a man who would use his power as a teacher and a position of respect to impregnate a girl of school age. They never envisaged that such a scumbucket could become prime minister. So now, unfortunately, we have had evil at the helm, and we must do what is necessary to protect the people through constitutional reform. So we agree with that.
Nice. So I will be asking all UNC colleagues that are involved in UNC what is their position on that, and we will hope that that is one of the front burners of driving the next general elections coming, whereby we can get Trinidad and Tobago involved, and that we must see that the UNC as an option are coming in there to make sure that all this madness that Rowley them doing and just breaking law and all the independent institutions just under his wings and all that kind of bacchanal, that you all are willing to fix it before Kamala dead and some other madman like Rowley just agakadaba just come and may do worse than what Rowley doing, which Rowley done this country already.
Well, I agree with you, and I take you one step further. On the front burner of the United National Congress, we have to line up about 20 stoves because we could only use front burner. Front burner, first and foremost, is to keep the people safe, to stop the plethora of guns and murders and scattershot and killing and women getting killed by stray bullets. On the front burner is education and laptops and tablets and ability and opportunities for our young people. On the front burner is increase engage, bring it back, where Fazal Karim and Kamla Prasad Bisesa had it at 726 million with 59,000 children benefiting as opposed to 21,000. On the front burner is textbooks and school feeding, sport and culture, and respect of institutions, bringing opportunity to the youth, especially in the at-risk areas, to ensure that our people can thrive and survive. So all the UNC have is front burner issues, of which constitutional reform is definitely one. God bless all your ground reports.
One more thing,
I am biased towards your program, so I must declare my bias that I support the ground report.
Right, but wait, before you go again, you say front burner, I like that. What about like how Colonel NLAC, you know, thing and look at indemnity for all our millions of dollars and all those different things? What the UNC willing to put in place, especially with the critics out there, we're saying PNM and UNC is the same, which that is dirty talk. Total talk, hush talk. PNM and UNC can never be the same. Never. My channel them was getting.
Well, you have answered your question for yourself with your previous question.
No. Well,
how you ensure that these things like Conrad Email and NGC and taking instructions from the cabinet and taking decisions in the face of stark reality that you are wasting taxpayers' dollars. If the institutions and the Williams were independent, as they were intended so to be, then the institutions, the TTPS, the Anti-Corruption Bureau, the Integrity Commission, the FIU, these things that have become tainted by PNM influence, when they are resourced with independent, qualified people, independent-minded, then these issues will be dealt with immediately. So when you fix the Constitution, when you protect these institutions from political interference, then you have a country that works, that an attorney general cannot sit down and lie on an affidavit and then come and be arrogant and say, read what I said. Fire burn that clown. He's an embarrassment. He talks with a funny accent. Me, I know where he's from. He talks like he underwater. He sounds like he walking with high heel up on his second floor of his home, and he is embarrassing my country. Fire burn the PNM. Unite under the UNC. No splinter group, no third party, no pizza party, wasting time. Come, all of you are welcome. Bring your ideas, bring your brain, because Trinidad and Tobago is in a total
and complete mess. We need all brains on deck.
All will come. These kind of questions will bring all. So you are saying too, like for instance, we have people that getting big money, CEOs and chairmen and all these people that getting paid well. And when they make a mistake, and they not mistake, when they blatantly pipe out, sell out, or rob or destroy, we things would in that constitution put things to provide that then make a jail. Because you can't be paying a man $200,000, $300,000 a month, and yet still you paying him to destroy you.
Well, the laws are there. So what you have to do, which the PNM has starved the Integrity Commission of resources, of investigators, of paperwork, of staff. So therefore, they're unable to do the amount of investigation that is necessary. When you staff the DPP's office, over 64% of the attorneys are vacant, the positions at the DPP's office. When you get merit back into the merit list, and the Commissioner of Police is not a PNM toe jam dunce who's taking instructions from the PNM, then you get a country that functions. And this is what has to be done.
All right, so Trinidad and Tobago, in other words, what we can see or give an assurance to is that, especially for the nobody fellow, when it's always called, which I believe in him, but again, you hear for yourself, nobody, that the UNC is on that part of constitutional reform from top to bottom. And as
let me just leave you with this one, because you will also know that truth must prevail. When Kamla Prasad Bisesa was Prime Minister and I was a minister in her cabinet, Kamla Prasad Bisesa had a policy that no family of ministers could be on any board. There were 153 boards, about 2,000 board appointments. And Kamla Prasad Bisesa, of which I disagreed with her at the time, because I said, but ma'am, I could understand my family not being on my board. Of course, I agree. Conflict of interest, apparent bias, all of corporate governance. I say, but why my family can't go on Mikey K board or Leonard Smith board or Andy Williams board? She said no, she wants none of it. And that she put one person on one board. One chairman, one board. Rowley of Ingrid Nashi on 9 board. Newman board, George on 7 board. Narcis, Eustace Nancis on 7 board. The next one, AA coming on 4 board. Rowley, friend and family on all the board. And that shows that there's a web of corruption and opportunity to steal created and implemented by Keith Rowley. So people must talk facts. Under Kamla, corporate governance was higher. You never heard of no minister going and procure no ferry, go and buy a galleon's passage. You never heard about no minister going to Australia and spend 1.5 billion with the Prime Minister and come back and say we had a tender process. What abject, total, disgusting nonsense. The PNM under Rowley is the most corrupt regime in the history of the Commonwealth.
Oh boy, thanks so much, Anil Roberts. Thanks so much. You bring justice this morning. Not only to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, but you bring justice to the pitbull this morning with hearing people and you like UNC and you no, it's not a matter. And this will show everybody, whether I like UNC, whether I like Anil, whether I like Kamala, Jolene, John, Wayne, Mark, and all of them, whether I like them or not. Principles, fair play, and direct questions. Yeah, I was like soft in your lease and he come direct and say, hey, I know you want to ask me because you ain't want people to get vexed, you know. No, ask me. And I did. And so, well, all I can say is thanks.
I think he did. Yeah, he was frank.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, of course, Anil. Senator.
God bless. Be safe.
Yes, thank you
very much. Great work. Unite. Stop this division. Dr. Williams put it in us and created over 473 different versions or iterations of the opposition. The opposition must unite. One party, one leader, all brains on deck. Anything else leaves the PNM there. And the PNM must go, and they must go now. Where Rowley? Where Rowley?
Hey, I want to chuck in one thing again. Tobago under more pressure than we. It have a young set of people there, whatever, right? I love them. I love the PDP. I like that they have 14 seats. They did well and all those different things. But you being a politician, I would have rather. I just want to hear with your thoughts. I would have rather that the PDP as a new party, and again for all Tobagonians, it's not about fighting nobody. It's about making sure the people you like. If you like somebody, you will try to get them constructive in criticism, right? With the issues that going on in Tobago today, and having a young PDP there, do you? Boy, I was studying if it's exact. What the hell Duke doing in Trinidad, and with his strength, right? He had all that strength. Your people love you. You was going good. Spartans was a Spartan. Right now, Spartans killing your own momentum in the promenade, giving out bread when people in Tobago need bread too. You understand? You're saying that in across there, all that corruption talk and all that, and now asking for a big budget, but yet still the people of hey, Tobagonians again, this is me. If I could question Kamala Pasabi sister, I could question and the UNC. I ain't afraid to question the PDP and Duke and Fali them neither. With all this big budget, with all this thing, with all the hope them people give me boy, and then all of a sudden the Spartans just squad like they're in a library. We ain't hearing nothing about all the malfeasance that going on in Tobago. With who 10 game pay for? What all this right, game pay?
Let me answer. And I am half Tobagonian. My father is a Tobagonian. My grandfather, Victor Robets, is a Tobagonian. And I tell all supporters of opposition parties, all, when you get into a system that has been left by the PNM, when the organizational structure is still maintained and controlled by the PNM, the people below the secretaries in Tobago are PNM. Those who sign the checks are PNM. Those who influence the system are PNM. Then you must have a little patience, because the system, because we have allowed in Tobago, for example, 20 years of PNM, the PDP has just been there 7 months. They have to get in there. They have to get people to do the job. Some people have contracts who are there and beholden to the PNM and will hold back and delay and not implement. When I became a minister in 2010, Andy, I drive in there with my Jaguar that I buy from way back from radio and TV. And I gone up in the ministry on the very first day, Andy Williams, Mikey K, and Lennox Smith. And I saw the staff wearing some lovely polos, red, black, and white, with the Ministry of Sport and so on. And I told the permanent secretary there, Esme Charles, a woman the people, I found out later, the staff called Carl Conks. And I said, Madam Permanent Secretary, I see that the staff have some polos and so on. I won't be wearing suit every day to a Ministry of Sport. It's a Ministry of Sport. So I would probably like to get one red, one black, one white jersey like the staff. And next thing you know, I hear some noise outside. When I stick my head around the corner, this woman shouting at the top of her voice, who the hell he feel is that I going to buy him jersey and do. I said, Madam Beers, come, lady, come. I said, good morning. I said, no. I said, how much I asked you to buy me